The first red flag that you are probably being targeted by a narcissist is this person that you suspect of being a narcissist is just a little bit too warm and fuzzy. By that I mean this person is coming on very friendly. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this person is a narcissist, but we understand that narcissists are very good at masking. They're very good at pretending to be somebody that they are not because they are trying to fool you. As I often say, this is what I call the used car salesman syndrome. A used car salesman, a little bit different. They have so many seconds, I mean like a minute or two, to make a good impression on you to suck you in so they can sell you a car. The narcissist, on the other hand, he has months or even years to put on this act, to put on his used car salesman act. So he or she can take a very, very long time, literally sometimes years. So be careful if somebody seems to be, a little bit too friendly. You know how the average person is to you, and some of them are friendly because, a little overly friendly because they're just friendly people. Some people genuinely like you, and so they're going to come across as a little bit more friendly than others. Narcissist, rather, understands that, and so he mimics these people. How do you tell the difference between a narcissist and somebody who is genuinely kind or somebody who honestly likes you? Well, that takes us to the other 10 points. Number 2 is the narcissist tends to have a hidden past. Now, we know that because narcissists are always narcissists. I mean, once they're born a narcissist. Now, there are some exceptions to that. I believe that some people have this innate narcissism that they are born with, but it's not expressed until later in life, usually because of abuse when they're children. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, but narcissism rather, is innate. It's something that is genetic. You're born with it, or you're born not with it. Well, everybody is born with a little bit of narcissism because it's healthy. We want to take care of ourselves. Need to stand up for ourselves. The problem with a narcissist is he goes way overboard. She goes way overboard. Number 2 is they tend to have a hidden past because they have always been narcissists. They've always been this way. You're not their only victim. You're not their first victim. So if you are a little bit suspicious, you might want to do a little bit of background checking and find out if this person even has a criminal history. And if they don't, you've lost nothing. If you check public records and type in the guy's name and, there's nothing there, good. Chances are he or she is not as bad as you thought they possibly could be. But some of the narcissists in my life, I find that, and bankruptcy is not a sign of narcissism because a lot of people file bankruptcy, but that's almost guaranteed that if you have a covert narcissist in your life, it's almost certain that at some point in the past they have filed bankruptcy because they are entitled. They don't pay their bills. Even if they have the money, they don't pay their bills, a lot of them. So those are some of the things you look for in their past. Have they been arrested multiple times, maybe for check deception? Have they been sued multiple times? Okay, this kind, friendly person may not be as kind and friendly as you thought they were. Number 3 is that they have no contrition, or no true contrition, I should say. There is a difference. Again, they're masters at manipulation. They can fool people. They can make you think they're truly sorry, but they keep reoffending, and that's the difference. Putting on the act of being sorry, of contrition, is not the same as true contrition, and true contrition is you don't repeat the offense over and over and over again. So if you have a person who's been sued multiple times and always has a good story why they were not at fault, but they've been sued multiple times, chances are that is a person who may be a narcissist because even though they seem to be sorry or seem to have an excuse, more likely that very well could be a narcissist. That's a pretty good red flag. Number 4, pathological liar. People who are narcissists don't quite understand why they should tell the truth, other than it's a means of manipulating people. But they have no moral grounding for being honest. Now, they sometimes fake honesty, but they're just lying. So they are pathological liars. They lie about lying. They lie about being honest. Now, everybody makes mistakes. Everyone has done something dishonest at some point in time. We all break rules. We all break laws. You can't drive a mile in your car without breaking some kind of a law, I don't think. But we all do that. But we're talking about somebody here who is pathological. By pathological, we mean it's just part of them. It's not something they do at the spur of the moment by decision, but it's something that they do by nature. That's just what they are. Number 5 is they have this sense of a super self. So we explain this by saying watch out for the proverbial wolf in sheep's clothing. That very well may be a narcissist. How do they do this? Well, I know narcissists who portray themselves present themselves as being deeply religious. There was one famed narcissist who presented himself as being a war hero, and he had these great stories. How he was in the Korean War, and he won all these medals, and one of the medals he even wore. He liked to wear his medal, even though it was totally fake. There is another narcissist I read about who was a criminal, but he said he had a past with the FBI, that he was a former FBI agent, undercover type, you know. Well, it turns out that, in a sense, he kind of did, but because of his criminal activity, the FBI recruited him to help them catch other criminals. But he lied by omission. He left out a lot of that. He just said he was an FBI agent. Technically, he wasn't, but he did work with the FBI. So he took that little ounce of truth, and he embellished it extremely. And people tend to be believers, you know. Whatever we hear, we tend to believe it. Faith comes by hearing. So we hear things, and we believe all kinds of nonsense. And when somebody tells us something like that, we just pretty much take them at face value. So they have this super self projection, and that's part of being a pathological liar. Well, I guess all of this is part of being a pathological liar. And number 6 is masking. Everyone wears a persona mask because there's one way you behave at home when you're all by yourself, and there's another way that you behave when you're out in public. At least I hope so, because if you're extremely polite when you're at home by yourself, there's probably something wrong with you. But most of us, when we go out in public, we have this sense of courtesy protocol that we try to behave a little bit considerate of other people. Not everybody does that, but I think people who are mentally healthy, yeah, we have this sense of courtesy. Well, the narcissist will wear his mask. He takes it a step further. He wants to hide who he really is. It's not just being courteous when he's out and about, but it's a matter of totally distorting your perception and his or her self-perception of who they are. That's kind of a throwback to what we talked about earlier, where somebody would pretend to be religious or pretend to be a war hero or, you know, an FBI agent, but that's part of masking. Number 7 is they have a flawless presentation, because this is akin to masking, but people with narcissism don't like to admit that they have flaws. So when they're putting on their mask and they're putting on their little stage play for the world to see, the world is their audience and they're putting on the stage, very proud of the fact that they are fooling people, and they do. They're really good at acting. They fool a lot of people. But you might notice that their presentation of themselves is a little bit too flawless. You know that guy that had the war stories about being a hero in the Korean War? His story never includes any mistakes that he had made when he was serving in the military. Flawless presentation. How do you know the difference between a real plant and a fake plastic plant? Well, the guy who makes the fake plastic plants, fake flowers, he typically makes them without any flaws. There's no little brown spot or no little hole where the bug ate through it. They're just perfect. And when you see somebody who comes across as perfect, chances are that's a plastic person. That's a fake person. That's like a plastic plant, fake plant. Number 8 is they are manipulators, but, they like to hide their manipulation. But these people see themselves as being very savvy. They like to see themselves as somebody who's got their act together, and they are what we call players. They know how to play other people, and they are, really good at it, and they know they're good at it. But in time, you'll start to see, hey, this person is manipulating people. Maybe you won't see it. But if you do see that manipulation in somebody, you might consider, hey, this, I think, is a narcissist. Number 9 is the narcissist loves failure. Now, he or she will never admit that they are failures because in their minds, they're not. They're flawless. They never fail. Even when they fail, it's not a failure. They did it on purpose. They could trip and fall and say, it's somebody else's fault. I know a narcissist who would do that, trip and fall over something. And she would actually sue. She would actually sue whoever owned the property. Did that a few times. Usually it was a retail. Maybe she did it on purpose. I don't know. But, that they love everyone else's failure. If you know somebody who is coming to you constantly and telling you about somebody else's flaws and their failures and something they did that backfired, they may even be making it up. And a lot of times they do. They just flat out lie about it. But if somebody actually does do something, make a mistake, have a financial failure, have a car accident, have a sickness, which is really not a failure but still a problem, they love that. And they talk about it. And they want to point out the flaws in everybody else. Now, what is important here is you got to keep in mind that if they are finding those flaws in other people and telling everybody about it, they're doing the same thing to you. Every flaw they see in you, real or imagined, and yeah, they're good at making up flaws. They will spread those all around. Guaranteed they're talking about you behind your back. It's called a smear campaign, by the way. Number 10 is the only time they do anything for other people is when they do it for a manipulative purpose. Manipulative purpose. Sometimes they can be very kind, they can be very considerate, they can try to help people out, but there's always an ulterior motive for doing that. But by and large, they don't do anything for other people unless they are manipulating. Number 11, we touched on this one earlier, is they slander others. Again, the smear campaign. This is one of the hallmarks of a covert narcissist, is that smear campaign. They recruit what most people call flying monkeys. I prefer to call them agents. They are narcissists by proxy. For some reason, I don't like the term flying monkeys, but everybody knows what that means, so I use it. But that's one of their hallmarks, is they will slander you behind their back and other people, as we mentioned before. But they will also recruit other people to make that slander go viral. That is their way of controlling. Because the one thing that narcissist is obsessed with is protecting his or her ego by controlling everybody else. They are the king or queen of the universe. Another thing is they're good at hiding their vibes. One mistake I hear people make often is they say they've got bad vibes about somebody, or somebody just gives off bad vibes. If it's a narcissist, chances are you're not picking up those bad vibes. Those are false signals. Because the narcissist, one thing they're really good at, and they understand this. I mean, they've been a narcissist their whole life. They got a lot of practice. And they typically don't send off those bad vibes. If you're getting a bad vibe from somebody, it may be very real, but it's probably not because they're a narcissist. They may just be a strange person, or they may be a crook, but maybe not necessarily a narcissistic crook. And that is one of the key differences between your average crook and your narcissist, is the narcissist is good at hiding it. They're good at hiding their vibes. So if they give off bad vibes, you're not going to be able to tell it. Number 13 is this. They are critical and they are negative. Now, they may be friendly, but you won't hear these people praising other people. You won't be hear them, well, maybe their immediate family. They love to brag about their family because their family is their family. And, of course, being themselves narcissists, they are better than everyone else, so it just follows that their family's better than everyone else. Think of them as having a holy family. Now, their family may disagree with them. That doesn't matter. This is my son, this is my daughter, and this is my family. They're just perfect. So put them at the front every time. But they tend to be critical and negative of people other than their immediate family. So if you're around somebody that they're always finding that flaw, it's kind of like a smear campaign, not quite the same. But they're always noticing that somebody has something about them that the way they put on their coat, the way they comb their hair, the way they touch their face or wipe their nose, they just see a flaw in just about everything. That is a red flag. You may be dealing with a narcissist because they are critical and they tend to be negative. Now, they'll try to come across as being a very positive, upbeat person, but that's a mask. You can tell they're negative people by the things that they say from the abundance of the heart. Number 14 is they have a sense of entitlement. They feel entitled. They feel like the world owes them just about everything. That is one of the reasons you'll find a lot of narcissists, not all of them, but a lot of narcissists are constantly moving. They don't pay the rent because, you're not entitled to it. They are. I mean, I know people who actually do this, spend their whole lives. I know a guy who's pressing 70. And his entire life, he's just moved from one place to the other. Had a really good job for a while. Didn't pay his bills because no one else is entitled to his money but him. So he'd get sued over and over again, kind of like we talked about before. But they have this sense of entitlement that the world owes them food, the world owes them shelter, the world owes them income. Now, that person may not be a narcissist. There could be some other difficulty that a person is going through. But if you see that their whole life, there's got to be a reason. And that reason may not be that he or she is a narcissist. Could be some other reason. But that is a red flag, so something to look into. Take a look. Now what you'll see is a couple rectangle boxes on the right of your screen. Let's keep this conversation going if you want to, by just clicking on either one of those boxes. Or if you're done, well then, nice talking to you, and we'll see you next time.